Hey everyone. So yeah, unfortunately I'm not here today, but we can still carry forward with our lesson. Okay. Today what we're going to talk about is interest. Okay. So what is interest first? Okay. So it costs money to borrow. It costs money to borrow money from a financial institution like a bank or a credit union. Okay. The extra money that these lenders charge is called interest. So that's the money they charge you for borrowing money. Okay. But interest can also refer to the amount of money that you make in an investment. Okay. So, like if you have a savings account and at the end of the month you get a little bit of interest each month, that's money the bank is paying you for keeping your money with them in the savings account. Okay. So, interest can either be charged by the bank if you're borrowing money, like a loan or a mortgage, or if you have an investment or a savings account, they're going to pay you out interest. Okay. The starting amount that's borrowed or invested is called the principal. Okay. So the interest is usually described as a rate or some kind of percentage per annum. And remember, per annum just means per year. Annum is year. Okay. For example, an investment of $100 at a rate of 3% per annum. Since 3% of 100 is $3, the investment is going to make $3 per year. Okay, so you multiply the percentage by your principal. Okay, that is for simple interest. So simple interest is a method where the interest amount is based on the original principal amount. Okay, it's calculated using the formula I equals P. Oh, didn't want pink. I did red. Wanted yellow. I equals PRT for simple interest. Okay, so I is your interest earned. Is your total interest. P is the principal, your initial amount. R is the interest rate. And you express that as a decimal or a fraction, but decimals are usually easier. T is the length or time of the investment in years. Okay. So you have I equals P times R times T. I is your interest, P is your principal, R is your interest rate, and T is time in years. Okay. Length of investment, it's easier to say time. Okay. Since the interest rate is expressed in terms of a year, the time must also be written in years. So you're always going to put your time into years. Okay. So just a little refresher. 1 year has how many months? Hope you all yelled out 12. 1 year also has, don't remember, 52 weeks. And how many days in a year? If it's not a leap year, there are 365 days in a year. Okay. So for simple interest, once you calculate that, it can then be added to the principal amount to find the total amount of the investment at the end of the term. Okay, represented by A. So the total amount is A, and we find it using P plus I. Okay, so we add the principal. So we add the interest to the principal. Okay, so let's do an example. I calculate the simple interest on a loan of $8,000 at 7% per annum for 6 years. Okay, so my simple interest formula is I equals P times R times T. So let's write out what we know. I need to know P, I need to know R, and I need to know T. Okay, so P, my principal. So simple interest on a loan. So the loan amount is $8,000. My principal is $8,000. My interest rate is always a percent. Okay. There's a color there. So the interest rate is always your percentage. So it's 7%. But we want that as a decimal. So in order to remember to go to a decimal, we divide by 100 or move the decimal over two. Move the decimal over 2 spots. So we get 0.07. And then my time is 6 years. So I have 6 years. Okay, so it's very straightforward. I just sub them all in. The principal is 8,000. I multiply that by 0.07. Multiply that by 6. So how much interest did the loan cost? $3,360. Okay, so that's my interest. So if I want to calculate how much I should pay for the loan, so say I took out this loan of $8,000 to, I don't know, help me buy a car. To charge 7%, I have to pay over the 6 years $3,360 in interest. So how much do I actually pay for the loan? Looking for the total amount is equal to P plus I. So I have, no, it was an $8,000 loan. 8,000 plus 3,360. So the total amount paid on the loan was $11,360. Okay, so that's how much I actually had to pay for the loan. Okay, so interest can cost a lot of money. Okay, if I started to invest the money so I can make interest instead of having to pay banks for interest. Okay, next I want to calculate the interest earned if $6,500 was deposited at 5.5% per year or per annum for 16 months. Okay, so again, I equals P R T, almost like party, but not quite. $6,500, that would be my principal. 6,500 deposited at 5.5%. That is always going to be my interest rate. But I need to convert to a decimal, so I'll move the decimal over 2 spots or divide by 100. Gives me, oh, there, 0.055 as my interest rate. And my time, good, put time right here. Move this over. So the time I get is 6. Whoop. My time equals 16 months. But I don't want months, right? I said that for time, I always want time in years. So how do I convert this from months to years? Well, what I can do is divide by how many months there are in a year. There's 12 months in a year, so if I divide 16 months by 12, that will get me 1.33 repeating years. Okay, so it's a year and a third. Okay, so that is my time. So you always need time in years. Always need it in years. Okay, because my interest rate is per year. Interest rate is per year. Time must also be in years so that all of my units match up. So let's plug in my numbers here. 6,500 times 0.055 times 1.33. That will get me $475.48. Even though if you calculate it on your calculator, you should get 475.475. I'm rounding off to 2 decimal places because remember, it's money. We always round off money to 2 decimal places. Why? Because that's where it's going to put it. Okay, a penny is 2 decimal places, so that's why we're going down to side. If I look properly, that's 0.0. That's 3. Okay. So that is simple interest. Very simple, straightforward. Compound interest is a little bit different. Okay. So this occurs when the interest is added to the principal at the end of each compounding period. So interest is added to the principal every compounding period. Okay. And we include it in further calculations of interest. Okay. So it kind of builds upon itself. So if you take out a loan from a bank, or if you have an investment with a bank, this is how interest is actually calculated. It's compounding interest. Okay. So the interest keeps building upon itself. So kind of like we did with the our lesson from yesterday, which was appreciation, depreciation. We're going to fill out a table. Okay. And we're going to see talking about investment, we're going to see the investment growth. Okay. So we have an investment of $7,000 compounded annually. So we're just looking at the end of each year. Okay. Annually, every year. Okay. For 6 years at 4% per annum. So I have it up to 6 years, 4%. As a decimal would be 0.04. So I invested December 31st, 2024, or yeah, at the end of this year, so I'll have $7,000. So to start 2025, I would have $7,000 at the beginning of the year. Now, over the year, it's going to make 4% interest. So I'm going to multiply 7,000 times 0.04, which is $280. And then I add, like we kind of did yesterday, I'm going to add this to $7,000 or $7,000. Yeah. So we got $7,280. Okay. So that's what happened at the end of year one. So I start year two with $7,280. So in order to find out how much interest I make in year two, take 7,280 and multiply that by 0.04, which is going to give me that's going to give me $291.20, which I'm going to add to my amount from the last year. Okay. So this is going to give me a new amount of $7,571.20. Okay, so I add year two with $7,571.20. So that's what I'm going to start year three with. 7,501.20. So I take $7,521.20. Now I want to find out how much interest I make in year three and multiply that by my interest rate, 0.04. And that's going to be equal to $302.85. So see how my interest builds each year. Okay, I get more and more interest each year because the interest gets added into that original principal amount. Add those two together, and I'm going to get $7,874 and 5 cents. 5 cents. So that's what I end year three with. Also the amount that I start year four with. $7,874.05. I multiply that again by my interest rate of 0.04. That's going to give me $314.96 of interest in year four. Now I add those together. And what I'm going to come up with is 81, 89, and 57 cents. Now, just to save my throat a little bit, you guys can try it on your own, pause the video, give it a chance. I'm just going to write out the rest, just to kind of save my voice here. But it will be the same process for years 5 and 6. Multiply the starting balance by the interest, and then add that to the add that interest to the starting amount. Oh, whoops. Sorry, I messed up the decimal in the last one. That should have been 0.01. This was 0.57. Sorry, I read it wrong off of my page. 0.1. That one would be 0.01. Sorry about that. The 8189 was right though. That should have been 1 cent. Now this one's 85816.57. Okay, so that's my last year. I'll get this done quickly for you. So my ending balance at the end of the term is $8,857.23. Okay, that's what I end.
We got from my calculator right now. And that's all I know.
Correct. Yours or is that yours?
Last one. Is this one? This is the same calculator, but it's a little different though. That one is mine.
I love pencil.
That's good. Thank you.
That's why you don't forget your calculators in my class. So how much interest is earned? So we could do this one of two ways. We can one color. We could add up. We could add all these up together.
Another day was a word of prayer.
Or we could subtract
The
our
name of
ending
the
amount
Father, the
from
Son, and the Holy Spirit.
the principal.
God, today we lift up all the prayers we hold in our hearts to you. Please help us to be patient in our prayers, to remember that you hear each one of our prayers and will respond to them the way you see best. Hail Mary, Amen.
Amen. So I take my ending amount and then to subtract my principal, which will leave me with $1,857.23. So that's how much interest was made. Okay. So how does the final amount compare to a simple interest investment with all the same parameters? Okay. So I still have $7,000 as my principal. I have an interest rate of 4%, which is 0.04, and a time of 6 years. Okay, so I plug that into my simple interest formula. I equals PRT. So 7,000 times 0.04 times 6. So my interest that I made would be $1,680. Okay, so you can always see that the interest is less, but the total amount that we would have made is the principal plus the interest, which is 7,000 plus 1,680. So the total amount is $8,680. Let's put a dollar sign here. $8,680. Okay. Which, compare that to what I made on my compound interest, $8,857.23. So, which one made more? The compound interest made more. Made more money. Okay, it made roughly almost $200 more. Okay, so compounding interest will always be greater than simple interest. Okay, because you're making money on your money. Okay, because if we look here at the end of the first year, it's $280. That $280 got added into the principal. So that money that we made in the first year, we made money on that year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, and year 6. This money that we made money on it each year too. That's why the interest kept growing, or it would appreciate each year. Okay. So there is a formula for compound interest, but you don't need to learn it this year. But we'll see that in future math courses. Okay. So that's it for today. You can email me if you have any questions, and I'll see you Friday.